It's YouTube land. Hello, YouTube land. I wanted to do a page 47 because I haven't done one in a while. And I thought, I'll just do it live. Why not? I'm just killing time until I get tired enough to fall asleep or until cricket goes on. So here I am. So I picked out for this page 47 An Unquiet Mind by Kay Redfield Jamison. And this is a memoir that a psychiatrist wrote about her experience with bipolar disorder when she was in medical school for psychiatry. So it's interesting because there's the perspective of someone's personal experience with bipolar disorder, as well as she has the background to look at it from like a medical perspective too. So let's see what page 47 has to say. Oh, first page, we start with talking about the Rorschach. I'll talk about the Rorschach in a minute if anyone's curious. Let's see. Oh, but that's kind of the end of a sentence. The professor asked me about my background, and I explained that I was a freshman, wanted to become a doctor, and that I was working my way through school. He pointed out the university regulations, stating that I was not allowed to be taking his course, as it was for juniors and seniors only. And I said that I knew that, but it looked interesting, and the rule seemed completely arbitrary. He laughed out loud, and I suddenly realized that I was finally in a situation where someone actually respected my independence. This was not Miss Courtney, and I was not expected to curtsy. He said he had a position on his grant for a lab assistant and asked me if I'd be interested. I was more than interested. It meant that I could give up my unremittingly boring job as a cashier in a women's clothing store and that I could learn to do research. It was a wonderful experience. I learned to code and analyze data, program computers, review the research literature, design studies, and write up scientific papers for publication. The professor I was working with was studying the structure of human personality, and I found the idea of investigating individual differences among people absolutely fascinating. I immersed myself in the work and found it not only a source of education and income, but escape as well. So that's just the tiniest little snippet of this lady's memoir about her experience with bipolar disorder. Hi, Sandy Wandy. How are you? Good to see you. You know what's funny? I default to, as soon as I see someone in the chat say hi to me, I want to type in the chat back because I forget that I'm talking and you can hear me because I'm so used to typing in the chat. But I want to say hi anyway in the chat because that's what I like to do. How's your night going, Sandy? You don't sleep either, huh? Some of us don't. Yeah, it did. I was thinking. Well, I had some work to wrap up, and then I was already in here with all the computer stuff anyway. So, yeah, that's how it goes. So, I don't know if I was doing one of my page 47s just live. This is from a memoir about bipolar disorder from a lady that also became a psychiatrist. It's the first book I read about bipolar disorder specifically that kind of really like made an impact on me, and I like hearing about it from. Oh, you love page 47? Oh, I'm glad. I'll do more of them. Someone else told me that the other day too. And it's kind of fun for me because I get to kind of like rediscover books that I haven't read in a while. Like I think I first read this one back in like oh gosh, like 2008 or 9 maybe. So, I mean, I've read it a couple times, but it's been a long time. But yeah, it helps me rediscover old books. But this is a funny like this page like brings up a lot of like memories for me because she talks about getting involved in a research lab, and when I was in undergrad and college, I worked as a lab assistant in a psychology lab. I didn't get paid. It was just so that you could get experience and maybe get your name on some research papers and hopefully get into graduate school. But my the research group that I was involved in was looking at the relationship between different coping strategies and like physical health markers like blood pressure, cholesterol, triglycerides, and heart rate variability. So we collected all of this data via questionnaire about like, how much mindfulness someone uses in their daily life, how much, like if they use avoidance as a coping strategy, and looked at whether that had any relationship. Like I actually wrote an undergraduate honors thesis on it. I think it's still out there online, which is embarrassing because it's really old. But um, I wrote mine about the relationship between mindfulness and heart rate variability and like cholesterol and blood pressure. The only problem is all of your samples, like all of your people that participate in the study, are college kids, right? And like people in their early 20s have amazing blood pressure and amazing cholesterol regardless. Like you don't really see, I mean, unless they have some kind of health condition or something like that. I mean, unless they have you don't really see the effects of like a lifestyle or coping strategies until people are a little bit older. Um, so I didn't have any really exciting findings, but it was really fun researching mindfulness as a concept and a coping strategy. And it's probably something I should use more in my daily life, but I don't as well as I should. Like most people, I need someone else to remind me to do good things for myself. Um, like I was trained as a therapist, but I have my own therapist, and I'm always like kicking myself about like I should know this, I should know this, I should be able to therapize myself. But she always says like, no, it doesn't work that way. We're not supposed to do that. It doesn't work that way. And I don't think it works that way in like friendships or peer support or anything like that either. Sometimes, yeah, you can't be objective about yourself. I mean, maybe some people can. Oh, hi, Mist. It's so good to see you. Yeah, it's okay. You're getting ready for bed. I'm glad you are. I should be. I was just awake and I was finishing up some work and I was already in here with the computer and I wanted to do a page 47. So I figured I would just do it live in case anyone's hanging out until Cricket goes live or anything like that. Um, but one of the weird things I got to do in that research lab was since we were testing cholesterol levels and triglycerides, we had to take blood samples. Now, I wasn't like sticking people in the arm, but I had to do like the finger stick blood samples and like put it into a little machine and then record all of uh, their numbers and everything. Um, some people were like super squeamish about this little finger stick machine, and some people were just like, whatever. Um, I'm glad you love the page 47s, Mist, because that's fun. That's fun for me to do. I like to rediscover my old books and kind of riff on what memories it brings up for me. Um, Sandy Wandy says, I think most people don't have objectivity about themselves. I think you're absolutely right. um, the day that I meet someone who is completely objective about themselves, I don't know what I'll do. I don't know. That might be kind of boring though, because if you're totally objective about yourself, then you don't have any like emotions about yourself, right? Then, objectivity comes with distance, right? Like you have to have a little bit of distance. And if you have distance from yourself, I mean, I guess it could be a good thing in some situations, but not all the time. Mist, you said if you did page 47 on some of your books, you might lose subscribers. Why is that? Oh, there was the one I did that was like the slam poetry book that was like ended up being really filthy. I ended up privating that video. I wasn't prepared for it, and I was like, I don't know." Um, I literally I just grab them randomly and I just open up to the page and I just go. I don't check it beforehand. So I had this book called Verses That Hurt, and it's written down people speaking poetry into what was called the poem phone at the time. People would call a voice message and just like do like spoken poetry, kind of like a sort of like the on stage, like beating it kind of thing, but on a phone. And then they wrote it down and put it in a book. Missed you have pagan books on your bookshelf? I used to as well. I had like a collection of, well, mostly like Wicca related. When I was about 13 or so, I got really fascinated with Wicca and paganism and like nature based religions and lots of related things like Druidism, all that kind of stuff. I just found it really, really interesting. Um, I would do like my little I would do my own like circles in my room, and I had a million different color candles because different colors were supposed to mean certain things, and different incense and all kinds of stuff. Um, I keep a little bit of my woo woo, but not like entirely woo woo. Like I mean, I'm just a little. I don't know. I draw from lots of things now, but I love the integration of like earth-based nature because I think that there's God in nature. Like however you think of God, even if you don't believe in God, there's something pretty amazing about nature. You have several of those. Oh yeah, I would love it if yeah, I would love it if you did a page 47 from that book. I would love to hear about it. I hope more people do it so I can hear what kind of books y'all have. And then maybe I learn more like other things to read. That would be really fun. Sandy, you grew up fascinated with religion. Your parents changed religion several times and they gave me a different view of it. Oh wow. That's really cool. I my parents we just didn't grow up religious at all really. Like my dad was raised Catholic, but he became like a lapsed Catholic, I guess you'd call it. He had bad experiences with Catholic schools and mean nuns, so he didn't really stick with it. I think when we were very little, my mother would bring us to like a Methodist church, like for little kid Bible study or something, but I don't really remember it that much. Like it just wasn't something big in our house. It just wasn't. I was really interested in it, like even from an early age. Like I had like I got a little kid's Bible, like the kids version with like the like cartoons and stuff, and like I just wanted to know about everything. Mist says, pay attention to the center of a sunflower or a daisy, and you will see sacred geometry. And if you cut an apple in the middle, not from the stem, but the middle, you will see the pentagram. Oh, that's true. And what is it? We see everywhere the Fibonacci spiral too. I always think that's really cool. That's really beautiful that you see these like in a seashell. You'll see a spiral. The galaxy is a spiral. Um, it's really cool to see stuff like that. I don't pretend to understand it, but it's really cool and it's really beautiful. That's part of sacred geometry. I'll have to learn more about that. I'll have to look more into that. Yeah, my dad's a retired Catholic. His mom, my grandmother, she stayed Catholic like like to the end of her life, and he would sometimes he would take her to church, but then he would drop her off and then come back and pick her up afterwards. He was not he was not into it. But when my grandmother passed away, her funeral was a Catholic funeral. So it included a full mass. So she got him to a full mass, which I thought was funny. Well, not funerals aren't funny, but I guess it's funny that she got him to go to mass. Sandy Wandy says, "Oh, I love that idea. You could get random people to donate page 47 videos and you could have a cool library of random stuff." That would be really fun. I would like that. That would be so cool. Like, I don't care if other people do this on their channels. Like, I would love it. Like, I would love to hear, like, and you don't have to pick page 47 necessarily. That's just kind of my favorite number. I mean, maybe favorite's the wrong word, but it's a significant number. The story behind that actually is someone that I had a really, really close, intense relationship with in college. Um, like he just had a different way of looking at the world. Like he just saw things differently. It was always interesting to hear his perspective on things. And one day he said to me, "Did you ever notice about the number 47?" And I said, What about the number 47?" And he said, "Now you'll see it everywhere. It'll be everywhere now." And it was. Now 47 shows up everywhere. And maybe it's just a confirmation bias thing, but it's the funniest thing. It's the funniest thing. Um, so I picked page 47. Miss Dragon says the closest thing to a church I will ever attend is Reverend Ed Trevor's here on YouTube and his Church Without Walls. There's pagans, there's agnostics, there's atheists, there's Muslim. It's absolutely beautiful. Oh, I like that. I keep meaning to check that out, but I haven't yet. For a while, I was like, I haven't been lately, but I was like kind of scoping out like different churches in my area because I kind of want to get back into something. Because I'm kind of missing that from my life a little bit lately. But I like to watch their like online streams first to see if are you too crazy for me or like I mean nobody's too crazy for me, but do I want to attend the whole like service of it? And I can see if, I can kind of scope it out that way before I go in person. But I like the idea. I love the name too, Church Without Walls. I love that. That just sounds awesome. Sandy Wandy asks, how do you deal with it if the last sentence is incomplete? Like on the page? Like if I read the whole page, I'll finish the sentence. I'll go to the next, like I'll finish the sentence on the next page. I kind of just like wing it, honestly. Like sometimes if the thought ends like at a paragraph and I'm not finishing the full page, I'll just stop at the paragraph break. Or if I'm just really like vibing on what it's talking about, like I'll finish to the next page. I think there was one I did where I just like kept reading and I just like kept going. And I saw that I had a bookmark in there too. And I also flipped to my bookmark and read it. The 47 thing is kind of just a place to start, you know, um, so that I'm not necessarily reading the entire book because I don't either. Well, I guess I could read the entire book here on YouTube, but we'd be here a while. Miss Dragon says Reverend Ed calls us wounded healers because the chat similar to the boat. We're all looking after each other and we're all praying for each other in our own form. I love that. I love that a lot. The wounded healer concept is one that I really like, that really resonates with me. Um Most recently I heard about that in relationship to Carl Jung's work. Um, but it goes back like further than that, like in mythology too, or not necessarily mythology, but like shamanism and stuff too. Um, there was this idea, I can't remember specifically, but the idea that to be able to help someone heal, you have to have taken on some of the same poison that has wounded them. And then you have to transform your own pain, your own suffering into something that helps heal another person. And I think that sounds like exactly what you're saying, similar, that we're looking after each other. Like we can't necessarily heal ourselves, but maybe we can help each other heal. I like that. My biggest problem right now is I don't have enough time to read all the things I want to read. But I guess you have to actually like go out and live life sometime. You can't just read about it. Sandy Wandy says, aha, I would like the incomplete sentence. So would you just like stop mid-sentence? Like if you get to the end of the book, like or the page, like this one. Like, oh, I'm glad I didn't do page 47 from this one. This is wonky. This is a Mark C. Danielewski book, and he does all the weird stuff with the text. And this is just like an excerpt. But page 47 in this one is just like gibberish. You probably can't see, but like he does stuff with text to like achieve an effect. Mischief! Hey! I wanted to scream louder, but my child is sleeping down the hallway, so I did a quiet yell. Hey! You always put capitals and exclamation points, and that always kind of like makes me want to yell back happily. Miss Dragon says the incomplete sentence gives your mind the ability to imagine. Ooh, I like that. I didn't think about that. I should just start stopping mid-sent. No, just kidding. Yeah, child first. Actually, he's out cold tonight. Like a lot of nights he takes a while to wind down and he kind of like talks to himself and plays until he like crashes on the floor with his toys around him, and then we have to pick him up and pour him into bed. But tonight he went to sleep really fast. So I don't want to jinx it though. So I'm not yelling too loud. So Miss Dragon says it's like when I'm hiking and there's a hill in front of me, but I can't see over it. I let my brain imagine what it could be on the other side. Oh, I like that. I need to hike more places I haven't been recently before. I walk a lot around my neighborhood with my dog, but like I know my neighborhood and I have like different routes that I do, and like I kind of know where everything is. So it's kind of, even though I might see different things on different days, it's the same. Woo! I'm almost knocking over my water. I almost got to see me try to clean water up off my desk. Sandy, hiking is your favorite sport. I love that. And I love that. I can't remember who said it. I think it was something I saw on TV. I stole this joke. It's not mine. The secret about hiking is it's walking. It's walking in the woods. I thought that was funny. That made me giggle, but I can't remember where I saw it first. Yeah, Mischief says, yeah, as soon as you have a routine for bedtime, you don't. Yep. I think that's very accurate. That's very true. But my little guy has been like that his whole life. Like he's almost 5 now. He'll be 5 in May. But he's never been that kid that's like, okay, we're going to tuck you in and you're going to lay down in the bed and start to wind down and just lay there while we sing. No, like when we read him stories, he's running around the room and he's like fiddling with stuff and doing things. And we don't fight that because clearly that's what he needs to wind down. Like there's no like, I mean, we try to help him wind down. Like we don't do any screen time close to bedtime and stuff like that. But we don't like try to force him to like sit and be still while we read stories. He needs to wiggle. He's a wiggly guy. Miss Dragon says hiking is walking with the purpose. I like it. I like it. So if you're wandering and you don't have a destination in mind, is it still hiking? Like, is it just wandering? Is it wander hiking then? Sandy Wandy says, I was hiking a few weeks ago in the rain near my house and I saw a mountain lion. What? That's awesome. Did you get a picture of it? I love when you encounter cool nature stuff like that. Actually, I saw a live skunk here a while ago. maybe like a week or so ago, like just like run across the road. That was really fun for me because usually I, it's sad, but usually I don't see them alive. Usually I see them as like roadkill. It's sad. Miss Dragon says, somewhere we have a videotape of me reading a bedtime story to the boys, was asleep reading it. So the three bears and the three little pigs got mixed together. It's okay. Like the same diff. Oh, that just made me think of something. I don't know if y'all have ever heard of the short story, The Little Match Girl. Um, the author escapes me for the moment, but it's a really sad story actually. Like it's about a little girl who's homeless and is like trying to sell matches for food, and like the end is really, really depressing. When we were little kids, my brother and I, my mother had this it was like a Christmas related short stories collection. And she had just picked one to read to us one night. And it was like, she did the page 47 thing, I guess, of her own. She just picked a story and started reading. And she was reading it as a bedtime story. And I don't think she'd read it before. And she realized as she was reading this, like, wow, this is really depressing for my like 4 and 5 year old. Like she flipped to the end and she actually changed the ending. she she just like made up an ending, like, and the little girl was adopted by a nice family and live happily ever after. um I don't think we were paying attention though. I think we were asleep. So that's and I think I read it later when I was older and I was like, oh, that's different than how I remember it. Sandy Wandy, you weren't fast enough with your camera to capture the mountain lion. Aw, maybe next time. The area that we're in, like, is like suburbs north of Dallas, but it's like they keep building it up more and more and more. So like the wildlife is getting kind of like driven north. But which is sad, but while that's happening, like people will snap photos of like bobcats like drinking water in their pools and stuff like that. Cause like they were here first, like they're just hanging out. But sometimes you see a bobcat around here. I think it was Hans Christian Andersen, Mischief. I think you're right. I think it was. Miss Dragon says, Sandy, that's why we hike with a gun. Can I say that on YouTube? I don't know. I don't know the rules. A pew pew? Can we hike with a pew pew? You know what? I'm not monetized, so maybe it doesn't matter. Like maybe I can just say things. I don't know. But yeah, that's probably not a bad plan. For a while, like runners, like people that went running, like in the early mornings would take pepper spray with them because they would encounter coyotes and usually a coyotes are shy of people. Usually they don't want anything to do with humans and they'll like run the other way, but like we've just encroached on their territory so much. Like I think they were acting differently. Like these coyotes were like kind of like jumping on people. So early morning runners started bringing pepper spray with them and stuff like that. My answer at the time was the scary part about that story is not the coyotes, but it's the running early in the morning. Just kidding. More power. I'm actually very impressed by people that run, like that just go running. Um, I was a sprinter, but I wasn't like a long distance runner. That was never my thing. A boomstick. That's a good thing to call it. A boomstick. That's good, Mischief. Sandy Wendy says, yeah, I hike armed in Alaska. That makes sense. Alaska has a lot of like serious wildlife. Like if you upset a bear or I don't know, even a moose, like moose are huge. Like it's wild. Sandy says, lest we become lunch. Yeah, we don't want to become lunch. Miss Dragon, me and running, we don't go together. Running, ew. I tried to start running for a while with a friend when I was younger, but we didn't like, we tried to do this thing where, like, you run for a couple minutes, then you walk for a minute, and, like, you, like, mix it up, and then you eventually are running for more of the time, um, but we didn't stick with it. We both smoked cigarettes at the time too, that probably didn't help. Cigarette smoking is not great for your lung capacity if you wanna be a runner. Uh, but actually lately though, like, I've been able to, like, be brisker, like, take brisker and brisker walks with my dog, um, and lately I've actually been able to, like, break into, like, a little bit of a jog with him some of the time, um, just as, like, I get used to moving more. I'm not running the entire time though, but, like, that's new. That's new. That's new and exciting for me, so that's cool. Yes, Sandy, moose are dangerous and mischief. Yes, moose are ginormous. So where I live, we don't have moose. Is it mooses? Moose. Meese? I think the plural is moose, but for some reason I like the idea of saying mooses. That makes me happy. The first time I saw a moose was when we went to visit my husband's side of the family in New Hampshire and Massachusetts. And for part of the time, we spent some of our time in the White Mountains in New Hampshire in a place called Waterville Valley. And like on the drive out there, we saw like a mama and a baby moose, like just walking off the road. Like they didn't want anything to do with the cars, but man, they're gigantic. Like that's wild. That's wild. I think we saw bears too there once. Like not up close, like they didn't want anything to do with us, but like a mama and a baby bear. Sandy Wandy, you love New Hampshire? I love New Hampshire too. Like where they are, they're like kind of in that part of Massachusetts. It's like right on the border with New Hampshire. So it's like close-ish to Boston. Like maybe, I don't know, like 45 minutes, something like that. And like half of the family lives on the New Hampshire side, half the family lives on the Massachusetts side. Um, New Hampshire is like the first time I went up there, I was just so like in awe of all of the forest. Like it was literal forest. Like where I live in North Texas, like we have trees, like we have woods, but like it's more plains, you know? Like it's more like plains. But the first time I went there, I was just like gawking out the windows, like, I'm expecting Bambi to walk out of the forest any minute. Where's Bambi? I thought it was the coolest thing. Yes, Mischief, half the family are indeed mass holes. Oh, wrong side. That's our Red Sox gear, Patriots stuff representing that part of the family. Missed, you haven't seen a wild moose, but you have them in the Northern Cascades. Ooh. Moose, meesen, goose, kiesen. I like that, Mischief. I like that. Sandy Manny says everything there looks like a Currier and Ives plate. Hey, it does. You're right. That's a good way to describe it. I like that. It does look like a Currier and Ives plate. Waterville Valley in New Hampshire is beautiful, though. Like, maybe it's just because I had never like been anywhere else in the legit real mountains before, but and everything smells so fresh too. Like it all smells like pine, you know? Like where I live, things kind of smell like dust and construction. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love where I live. That's my home. Like I like it, but it's nice to go somewhere with like forest every now and then. Ooh, and seasons. We don't have seasons the same way they do. I mean, it gets cold and then it just gets really hot. We don't have a whole lot of fall or a whole lot of spring. Um, Mischief, you've only seen moose in Canada and Alaska. I'm trying to think. It wasn't moose that we saw in Hawaii, it was elk. It It was elk. When I was much younger, I was lucky and I got to go to Hawaii with my family and we saw elk there. At first I thought they were moose, but they were elk. And I think it was like on the way up to one of the volcanoes, maybe. It was like on a bus tour or something like that. Yeah, elk are huge. They're huge. Mischief. I've only seen Sandy Waney says, my mom was born in Franklin, New Hampshire and grew up in Hebron, New Hampshire. I don't know Franklin and Hebron off the top of my head. Where were we? We were in Hooksett. No, Hooksett is in Massachusetts. New Hampshire. One of the places that we went to. Oh, Chester. Chester, New Hampshire is where we have family. And like even like a regular, like to me, it feels like even a regular neighborhood in New Hampshire feels like all the houses are in the woods. I guess because there are so many trees and it's so cold and there's so much snow for so much of the year. Like I joke and say, well, I guess they just have to shut down construction for half the year. So like, you don't end up like here, they pretty much are doing construction year round because the weather usually allows it. So they're always like leveling something or like building more strip malls or more subdivisions or whatever. But up there, like you got to stop a lot of construction for part of the year when everything's frozen, I guess. Your niece seeing a bison said, look, a buffalo. I love that. A buffalo. That makes me happy. That makes me very happy. I think it was like, yeah, elk are huge. Wild mooses. I see any other? I think that the first time we went up to New Hampshire, I was just like impressed with everything because the flora and the fauna are different there. Like I saw this really fuzzy cat. I remember the first time we went up there. Like I act like a little kid when I go to a new place. It's just how I am. Even though I was in my late 20s, I was like, what's this? What's that? What's this? And there was like a fuzzy caterpillar that like he was really big and he was really fuzzy and kind of black and yellow. And I looked at him and I was like gonna like pet him. And then I kind of stopped and I looked at him and I said, will it sting me? And he was like, what? Caterpillar sting? And I was like, well, yeah, North Texas, everything stings. You gotta be careful what you're messing with. They've been buffalo for 40 years now. I love that. Buffalo. Sandy Wanny says Alaska has 2 seasons, winter and construction season. Are you in Alaska, Sandy? And Miss says bison is also delicious. Yes, I believe it is. Thank you, bison, for your noble sacrifice to our tummies, or some tummies that enjoy it. Oops, saying. It's a saying. Oh, you did live in Alaska for years. Someone I know who used to live here in North Texas near us, who I used to hang out with, she moved to Alaska. And I'm not sure why, actually. I think she just wanted to change, and boy, that's a change, But she's always posting photos on her Facebook of like all the different wildlife she sees, and like she'll just randomly see like moose show up in her backyard. It's really, really interesting. I love her wildlife photos. Buffalo are very yummy. I don't know if I've eaten buffalo. Buffalo wings are not buffalo. It's just chicken with buffalo sauce on it. Did anyone remember those commercials like for buffalo wings where like they showed like buffalo and they had like little cartoon wings on them? Probably when I was a kid, I would have thought they really had wings. I was gullible. You know what I haven't tried yet that I bought out of curiosity? But I'm not like, I don't eat at night now, so I'll have to wait till tomorrow to try it. Mischief says, went to Alaska when I was 7, dying to go back ever since. I've never been to Alaska. I would love to see Alaska. Where have I been that's out of the continental US? I've been to Hawaii. That's out of the continental US. Hawaii is beautiful, but I'd love to see Alaska. I'd love to see Canada too. Oh, you like it on toast? That is what people are telling me who are in the know, is that if you're going to do it right and not hate it, you get toast with butter and you put like a very thin layer. You don't like dollop it on. But I like to try new things. It keeps me from getting bored with life, and food is a fun way to do that. Well, I think I might wind up here in a minute. I know a lot of people like to go hang out over on Chow Yun Smut's channel, and I just got a notification she went live. So thank you guys for hanging out with me. This is really fun. It was nice to see you guys. Thanks for page 47ing and chatting about buffalo and wildlife. Mischief says Alaska was like being in Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom. I like that. Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom. I like it. That's great. Nice to see you, Sandy Landy. Thanks. All right. Well, thanks for hanging out with me. Good night if you're going to bed. And if you're going over to Chow Yun Smut's channel, see you over there. I usually, if I'm lucky, I say hi and then I fall asleep listening to that. I'm glad you caught me tonight too, Mischief. I'm not good at planning. I just, like, it has to be based around like when my kiddo is happy and sleepy and when I'm not sleepy. So there's a lot that goes into it. Thank you guys. I will see y'all later. Love y'all. Thanks for hanging out. Bye. Love you, Miss Dragon. Gotta go to bed if you want to be worth anything tomorrow. I've got to do a lot of sewing to the point that all I need is the top part song for the curtain rod and can finish it like, ooh, I need to learn how to sew. Yeah, that's a good skill to have. All right. Good night, y'all. Take care. See y'all later.